Yeah. I'll start this video off by saying, like, I don't agree with the majority of what comes out of TYT. And I feel as if they're going a route where I can understand what they're trying to do, but at the same time, I don't think it's going to work, and I think it jeopardizes a lot of things that people want to do. It and emboldens, the bad side or the dark side, if you want to call them that. But yeah, but listening to this, I'm gonna play this clip. It's 14 minutes long. I do feel like this needs to be captured because there's a lot of negatives that's pointed towards TYT, understandably so. But I feel like this is something that I actually want, to talk about or to, just to show I don't have to do much talking because I feel like this is something that needs to be heard.
Muslim lives matter. I'm so sick of our lives not mattering. And American media, you are guilty. You're the ones who got the whole country, my whole life, to hate me, to hate my Muslim family, to hate all Muslims across the world. You're the sick sons of bitches that called us terrorists. Does my life matter? Does my life matter? Does my family's life matter?
So Konstantin Kisin today referred to me as woke after I talked about the difficulty in engaging in polite conversation and debate with a man who has a smirk on his face as I talk about the slaughter of innocent people in Gaza. And that man was Conricus, I forget his first name, don't care about his first name, but unfortunately I had the displeasure of having to debate him on Piers Morgan's show. Jonathan Conricus, okay. So how is that woke? He quote tweets that. I say polite debates with men who smirk as I bring up the slaughter of innocents is nonsensical. He says woke is so back, baby.
Yeah, no, Anna, of course, being anti-genocide is woke. Like the non-woke position is genocide and Holocaust are awesome, which I'm sure Konstantin Kisin agrees with because he just said it. He just said that being against the genocide is woke. So he's so not woke, he probably loves genocides and Holocaust.
So let me understand something. If I decided to quote tweet him on October 7th when Hamas slaughtered innocents in Israel, and claim that his complaints about that was woke, would that be okay? Of course it wouldn't be okay, right?
No, that's against Israel, so you better watch yourself.
Because innocent people, civilians, should be and must be protected. I look at Israeli civilians as human beings, and when they are targeted the way Hamas targeted them on October 7th, it's freaking disgusting. Anyone justifying it should absolutely be condemned. But for some reason, the humanity of the Palestinian people doesn't matter at all. They just openly mock the idea that anyone would be upset at the slaughter of innocent people. Okay,
because
I see who you are, Konstantin. I see who you are.
Yeah,
wow.
Look, we think Israeli civilians and Palestinian civilians are the same. They're both human beings and their lives should be protected. They don't believe that. They think Palestinian civilians are to be murdered by the IDF under the guise of self-defense. Oh, I had to murder 17,000 children because Hamas made me do it. And I was defending myself against 3-year-olds and 5-year-olds. And by the way, that's why 100 American doctors came back from Gaza and said, wow, we saw an extraordinary number of headshots on children as young as 3 and 5. Snipers shooting children in the head because of self-defense. But to people like Konstantin, Palestinian lives, Iranian lives, etc., they're nothing. Because they're inferior to the Israelis.
Listen, I know
the
that
Israelis are superior to all of us. So how dare we complain when our superiors are in the room?
I know it's really difficult for the Israeli government and the defenders of the current IDF to hear about what they really are, to hear the truth about who they really are. They're genociders. They revel in the slaughter of innocent people, including children. They're literally shooting and killing Palestinians, including kids, as they're trying to get aid at these humanitarian aid hubs in Gaza. And then they turn around and say, oh, that's just Hamas propaganda, except investigations show that the bullets and weapons are consistent with the weapons that the IDF has. In fact, CNN did one of those investigations.
Of course, the IDF is a bunch of murderers.
Dozens
The reason
of
they're
kids
running, I'm sorry, hold on.
daily. daily.
The reason they're running the food centers and they stopped the UN from running them is so they could murder more Palestinians coming to the food centers. This is exactly what they did in the genocide in Srebrenica. In that case, it wasn't Israel, it was the Serbs. They would set up food, they would starve the population and then set up food centers so when the civilians showed up, they would get to shoot them easier. And you know what the Israeli excuse is for murdering people at the food centers? Well, they got close to the Israeli troops. That's because the Israeli troops killed everyone who was distributing food outside of them. And they're like, come here, little Palestinians. That's it, mow them down and slaughter them. But we're the moral army doing self-defense. No, you're doing a goddamn genocide. And it doesn't make you superior. It definitely doesn't do that. And I know you don't care about civilians if they're not Israeli civilians. That's why you're monsters. Total monsters.
It's amazing how openly they like mock and laugh at the slaughter of innocent people. But okay, Constantine.
When you laugh at a genocide, you are by definition a monster. So don't tell me about any of this crap. And I don't want to hear about anything else anymore about how Israel is the victim. Israel is not within a billion miles of being a victim. They are since 1948, they have attacked all of their neighbors and taken more and more land. That is an absolute certain fact. But they lie to you and they go, oh no, it was the terrorists that they made us take their land. They made us take Gaza. They made us take a huge chunk of the West Bank. They made us go into southern Lebanon. They made us go into western Syria. They made us attack Iran. They didn't make you do any of that. You're an aggressive imperial empire, slaughtering people, committing genocide so you could have more land. And you could easily do that because you manipulated all of our politicians. You bought them through AIPAC. And no, I don't care what you say. You definitely bought them. That's exactly what AIPAC did. And anyone who's a fool enough to tell you, no, AIPAC gave out hundreds of millions of dollars, but it didn't affect our politicians. You would have to be a moron of the highest order to say that. You'd have to be the dumbest person in the whole planet to say our crook politicians took hundreds of millions of dollars from AIPAC, but it didn't affect them? Come on, who could be that stupid? Oh, I know, every single mainstream media reporter in America. Every single one of them lies to you on purpose and says, no, AIPAC doesn't have any influence. AIPAC, how don't say it, anti-Semite. No, you guys are anti-Palestinian, anti-Muslim racist and bigots. You don't care about Muslim lives. You don't care about Muslim lives at all. So when Palestinians are slaughtered, what is it gonna take, 18,000 kids, 180,000 kids? You don't care about them at all. Whenever Israel slaughters, you go, terrorists, they had it coming. And you do their propaganda for 2 years later, self-defense, they declared in their cabinet that they're taking all of Gaza. It was always about the land. Does anybody on CNN or MSNBC or Fox News say that? No, they never say it. They lie to you on purpose to help Israel steal more land in the Middle East, and they claim it's self-defense. Self-defense, my ass, it's a goddamn genocide. And yes, Muslim lives matter. We're also human beings. The only human beings on this planet aren't Israelis. They're not some special benighted superhumans. Oh my God, if they die, we all have to say, oh, we bow down to you. But if Muslims die, right? That's what American media does. That's what American politicians do. I'm so sick of our lives not mattering. I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of everyone has to grovel to Israel. But the minute you ask someone, can you be a decent human being and care about the Palestinians? They go, anti-Semite, no, F you. You're the one who hates Muslims. And American media, you are guilty. You're the ones who got the whole country, my whole life, to hate me, to hate my Muslim family, to hate all Muslims across the world. You're the sick sons of bitches that called us terrorists when it was Israel attacking, when it was Israel taking land, when it was Israel slaughtering and slaughtering. How many times? Every war, Israel kills 100 times the civilians. This time they kill 1,000 times the civilians. Doesn't count, doesn't count. What does the American media say in their infinite racism? They say it's always the Muslims' fault. It's always the Palestinians' fault. They say stupid crap like, oh no, the Palestinians can't govern themselves. They're violent, terrorist savages. They can never govern themselves. They're inferior to the Israelis. You don't say that, but you imply that every time. What, the Palestinians are the only people on earth who can't govern themselves? No, you're deeply racist if you say that. Do you understand? No, every cable news anchor, every reporter at the New York Times, every reporter at the Washington Post, you're all deeply racist against Muslims, and you have gotten this country to hate us. It's totally your fault. And you've gotten the country to believe that 1.6 billion Muslims are America's enemies, that we're the violent savages. You're sick, you're disgusting. I can't stand it anymore. Can you for once in your life treat a Muslim life the same as an Israeli life? And the answer for mainstream media in America is hell no. They're never gonna do it, never. They hate Muslims and they drive hatred towards Muslims because Israel needs more land. They need more of Gaza. Are you gonna report accurately that they voted to take Gaza? It was never about self-defense. They took Gaza. They voted on that. Have you said it? No, I mentioned it on page A17, but I don't want anybody to find out Israel's the aggressor. Israel's a moral army. Israel's doing self-defense. It's those dirty Muslims that are attacking. I'm sick of it. F all of you in American media. F all of you for driving that hatred against 1.5 billion people, all to serve your beloved Israel. I know I'm the one who's being terrible anti-Semite. How could you say something against Israel? Israel is the Jewish state, the greatest state of all, right? I don't care that they're Jewish. I wish they weren't. I wish they had a safe haven for Jews that didn't constantly attack their neighbors.
It's called
that
America.
didn't occupy their neighbors. I want a safe haven, but they don't want a safe haven. They want more land. It's called Greater Israel. It's a map that hangs in their cabinet. It's not like they're hiding it. Why don't you report it? Because no, anti-Semitic. That's an excuse they use to drive hatred towards Muslims so that Israel can accomplish their objectives. And I'm just, as you can tell, had all I could take.
Yeah,
you know
same.
what happened, Anna, sorry.
Same.
So one of our members, History Speaks, wrote in about this story that just came out in the last hour in the Washington Post. I couldn't believe it, so I looked it up, it's true. Sorry guys, obviously I'm enraged here. I got to a point where I can't take it anymore. Does my life matter? Does my life matter? Does my family's life matter? Okay, here's what Israel did according to the Washington Post in Iran. There's an audio recording that the Washington Post has gotten. It says in the recording that Israeli intelligence calls Iranian generals and they say, I can advise you now, you have 12 hours to escape with your wife and child. Otherwise, you're on the list right now, on our list right now. And an Israeli intelligence operative told a senior Iranian general close to the country's rulers, according to the audio recording. The operative then suggested that Israel could train weapons on the general and his family at any moment. Quote, we're closer to you than your own neck vein. Put this in your head. May God protect you, he said. So look, you want to do psyops, you want to threaten their generals, I get it. You call up and say, we're gonna murder your children. You know what? Who does that? Terrorists do that. Absolute stone cold terrorists do that. And have they murdered their children? Yes. I mean, in Gaza, there's 17,000 dead kids. And in Iran, do you know that they murdered their scientists in front of a kindergarten earlier? They have no qualms. They murder civilians, they murder scientists, they murder kids. They murdered over 200 innocent civilians in their first bombing raid. But with American media, it never matters because those are just Muslim lives. And you could threaten to murder Muslim children, and as long as it's beloved moral army Israel, they'll say, oh, it's great, it's wonderful, they're our special ally. So no, that is not a special ally. It is a despicable government, despicable. I wondered what I would have done if I was around during the Holocaust. I do not wonder anymore. I would have fought it with everything I had. And as the media probably would have said, well, look, the Germans had to defend themselves. They had to defend themselves. It's the fault of the other people. They were threatening Germany's expansion. And Germany had to expand for self-defense. And that is what they said, that it was for self-defense. And so I'm sick of your expansion, I'm sick of your wars, and I'm sick of us having to pay for all of your atrocities. Every time you ring the bell below.
Wow. Yeah. So when everything that Cenk just said, was 100% factual about Israel. Israel has every right to defend itself, but I think we all know, with ears, with eyes, with a brain, with a heart, can tell that they are no longer defending themselves when it comes to Gaza and the Palestinian people. They are actively genociding them. They are trying to ethnically cleanse Gaza so they can turn into a fucking resort, or they can further occupy the land. We know this through the plans of what Trump says. But since 9/11, I think that he's 100% spot on, and probably before that. But since 9/11, the Muslim community has been discriminated or treated, just like he says, as savages, especially in America. Because every time somebody looks at somebody who's Muslim, they think terrorist. So he's 100% spot on. How can Muslim lives matter if you're afraid of them when you see them walking down the street? So I think he's spot on. I think Israel, everybody's turned into this cuck of Israel because Israel, I honestly believe it's a religious allegiance. I don't think that it's a moral allegiance. And I guess you can have the debate of which religion is moral, what have you. But I'm 100%, on Cenk's side, support Cenk on this one. I don't agree with the majority that he says outside of, Gaza and Israel. But specifically, I just wanted to play this because I felt like it needed to be heard. I needed that I hope that more people would do the same, to express his anger, because I know he's not the only person that feels this way from the Muslim community. I mean, we all have friends who are Muslim. This is the fear, is that, people just hate them because of the way they dress, because of the way they look, because of where they're potentially from. I mean, as people of color, we know this. But we also know that, especially when it comes to issues like the Middle East, that Muslims, especially Muslim Americans, are going to be seen as dangerous individuals. So, yeah, I just wanted to show that at piece. Just let me know what you think about it, and repost, remix. Let's get this message out there. I kind of feel like this is the type of message that needs to be spread a lot more than other.